Hey, welcome back to training. Let's quickly cover the 4 weapon safety rules before we get started. The first weapon safety rule is treat every weapon as if it is loaded, even when you know it's not. The second weapon safety rule is never point your weapon at anything that you aren't willing to destroy. The third weapon safety rule is keep your finger straight and off the trigger until you're up on target and ready to fire. And the fourth rule is know your target and what lies beyond. Now let's clear out our pistol to ensure we aren't training with a loaded gun. First, if you have a manual safety, go ahead and put that on. Then remove the magazine, lock your slide to the rear, and conduct a 3-point check of your chamber, magazine well, and slide face. Ensure all 3 areas are clear of any bullets. Send your slide home, and now we know we're working with a completely cleared out pistol. If for any reason you're unable to ensure that your pistol is completely cleared out, do not continue training with this video. All right, so today's lesson has 2 segments. We're going to start off by reviewing good trigger control from last video, and then we're going to practice something called point shooting. And point shooting is when you shoot without using your sights at all, and I'll explain why it's so important once we get there. But suffice it to say, if you take one skill away from this course, point shooting would be the one. Let's get to work. All right, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Let's pick up our pistols. And remember, if you have a pistol that requires a magazine to be inserted, go ahead and do that. Make sure it's empty, and then flick your safety off. And let's just jump right into it. Remember our foundation: good stance, good grip, good sight alignment. We're just like this: equal height, equal light, center mass, right in the middle of your target. And then let's go ahead and practice pulling the trigger. Remember, you want high firm grip, high middle finger, finger straighten off the trigger, thumb out of the way, index finger to the trigger guard, maximum contact. Remember where your front thumb is, your support hand thumb on that slide. Make sure you're high and forward, you're not down and back. And to the chest when you pick it up. To the chest, get your good grip, and then punch out. And remember, we're looking for a smooth, steady trigger pull, whether you're going a little bit faster or a little bit slower. You just want a smooth, steady trigger pull, and once that shot breaks, once you hear that click, those sights aren't moving at all. Remember to bounce around the room a little bit. And if you haven't done this very many times, just take it nice and slow, smooth and steady. But once you start pulling that trigger, don't, if this is remember what I said in the other video, if this is your trigger pull, don't get up to the wall of the trigger and then go slow. Like once you start pulling, you're just straight to the rear. Whatever speed you start at, that's what you finish at. So that way, once you get to the range, it's just kind of like an automatic process. You start pulling that trigger, it's done. You're firing. And then after this, we're going to start point shooting, which is super awesome. And it will be the skill you ever use if you have to actually defend yourself. All right, remember to start bouncing around the room if you can. And get targets high, low, left, right. Test your natural point of aim. All right, when you punch out, try to pick up your sights as you're coming out. Don't wait until you're all the way out and then pick up your sights. Try and pick them up as you're coming out. That way you can get that shot off a little bit faster. In a real-life defensive shooting situation, that second might be the difference between success and failure. And remember, stay loosey-goosey, right? Feel free to wipe your hands off. Stay relaxed. Remember that support hand? I didn't say that when I was talking about the grip. Remember that tight support hand? And you can mess around like going slower, like really focusing on that front sight tip and, your sight's not moving at all. And then you can practice going a little bit faster, right? Like punching out, getting your sights quickly. But let your sights tell you what's going on the whole time. Meaning once you punch out, are you pretty solid? Or is it like moving all around? You're not just like looking at your sights, you're observing what's going on. Your sights tell you a story, so listen to the story. Sounds a little goofy, but it's true. All right, let's do this a couple more times. And then we're going to spend a decent amount of time point shooting. And it's actually really fun too, because it's a cool little, it's like a challenge. I'm excited for you to learn this. Especially because it's like the #1 skill. If you take anything away from this course, point shooting would be it. All right, let's do this 2 more times. All right, let's put it down. And then we'll all just pick it up together. One good shot, really focus on that sight not moving at all. Smooth, steady trigger pull, good grip. Once that shot fires, did you do all of the elements? Go ahead once you're ready. Good repetition for me. If it didn't feel good, then feel free to pause the video and you can do another one. Otherwise, let's move on to point shooting. All right, it's time to learn how to point shoot. And what I mean by point shooting is being able to shoot a target roughly the size of a human torso, accurately and consistently between 10 and 20 feet away from you. And the reason you're going to want to be able to do this is because if somebody ever breaks into your house and you have to use your pistol to defend yourself or one of your loved ones, you're never going to be thinking, oh, equal height, equal light, center mass, pull the trigger. You are just going to rely on gross movements because your heart's going to be racing, your adrenaline's going to be pumping, you're going to get tunnel vision. You're not going to be thinking about the small things. All you're going to do is point and try to eliminate that threat. You're just going to point and shoot. So we're going to practice point shooting right now so that you have the skills and the confidence to perform in that type of situation because you've practiced it and you know what your skills are. So the way that we practice this is we punch out, but normally when we punch out, we kind of bring our head down just a tiny little bit. We're not turtlenecking, but you do bring your head down a little bit to align with your sights. This time, we're just going to punch out. Notice my head's pretty erect, and my vision right now is like right over my pistol. I'm looking directly at my target, and then my pistol just kind of like comes up a little bit under my eyesight. And it's kind of where it normally would be, but I'm not bringing my head down to align with my sights. So you get one shot every time you punch out. You're not going to punch out and then move your pistol to where you think it's center. You're just going to punch out because if you ever have to do this in real life, you're not going to have the time or the ability to be like, oh, 1 second, I need some time, right? You just get one shot. So you punch out to where you believe you're center and then you confirm your sights. And we're just going to do this over and over again. And then eventually you'll learn how to point at something and be roughly in the vicinity pretty accurately. You'd be surprised how accurate you can get at this with just a little bit of practice. So what you're going for in the long run is being able to hit like a light switch box, right? Like, 2.5, 3 inches by like 4 inches tall, which is a very small, ratio wise, like to like a human torso. But if you can be accurate to that degree when you're relaxed and calm, then that gives you a lot of wiggle room to perform under pressure. Because under pressure, you're not going to be that skilled, right? Your fundamentals are going to start to break down. And so if you can do that when you're not under pressure and hit that light switch box, then you'll be able to hit this when you are under pressure, okay? So bring your pistol up. And all you're going to do is pick a target, and you can either pick one or you can just start moving around the room. But if you have a bad rep, keep going on that one target until you have a good rep. So bring your pistol up and then bring your head down to your sights, and you're looking for equal height, equal light, center mass. But once you punch out, you don't move your hands at all. Try to keep your hands and your point of aim exactly where they are, and then try to see where did your sights fall. And if you consistently keep going low, then you know you have to bring your pistol up a little bit higher when you punch out in order to be accurate. So we're just going to practice this for like the next 5 minutes. And it might be I just aimed in. When you're so used to aiming in, it can be hard to like do this. But don't bring your head down until you punch out. Ooh, that was a very good rep. And if you get like a bunch of bad reps, that's totally fine. You just don't want the first time you ever do this to be when someone breaks into your house, right? And this is one of the things that beginners never practice. They never practice point shooting. But this is the skill that you'll use if you ever have to use your pistol for the whole reason that you got it in the first place, which is to defend yourself and your family, right? So you have to practice this. Just like if you want to be able to shoot bullseye at 40 feet, then you have to practice shooting bullseye at 40 feet. And remember, if you have a bad rep, then do that target again. So you punch out Don't move your hands, and then bring your head down. Remember to move your feet around as you turn around the room. And you're not really turtlenecking to see your sights. You shouldn't be, right? Your gun should just kind of go to where it normally is, but instead of bringing your head down originally, you just kind of leave it elevated. And then once you go to check your sights, you kind of aim in like you normally would. Remember that vice grip? Don't let that vice grip fall apart. Maximum contact with your support hand. By the end of these videos, your hand should be tired, right? And you can take a break real quick, wipe them off. Not your firing hand, your support hand. Because your firing hand it's not gripping very hard. But your support hand should be vice gripping down every single time you punch out. So by the end of each of these videos, your hands should be pretty tired. But remember, when you come in, you relax. Right? You don't want to be straining for 10 minutes straight. Just like, if you were to do squats at the gym, you wouldn't do squats for 10 minutes straight. You'd do like a set and then you'd stop. Right? So every time you punch out, that's like a little mini set. Then you come back in, and then if you need to take a rest, put it down, and then do it again. So, punch out, confirm your sights, and if you're consistently high or consistently left, remember that going forward. Make every single rep count. You should never be like, oh, I'm just kind of going through the motions, right? And especially this skill set. This is the skill that you'll need in order to actually save your life or somebody that you love. So, this training's supposed to be fun, but this very well may be the training that you use to defend your life. So think of it that way when you train. And we can sit here and have fun, and I'm wearing this goofy shirt so that we can have fun and relax. But this is called a home defense course for a reason. And most people get a gun for self-defense. So take this training seriously and make every rep count. If you have a bad rep, be cognizant of that. Oh, that was a good one. And if you have a good rep, then get stoked, because that's awesome. Hopefully you're starting to get a little bit more comfortable with your grip. And notice, back to your chest, you don't bring it down, right? Because then you're not lethal. Like right from here, boom, instantly lethal. Boom, instantly lethal. Boom, instantly lethal. Okay. Maximum contact, high firm grip, high middle finger, straight off the trigger. We're not pulling the trigger right now because we're just trying to practice our aiming. We'll pull the trigger in future videos, but we're just trying to practice getting that sight exactly on target. And one of the funny things too is if you go, I've had beginner shooters, and a lot of times beginner shooters will jerk the trigger and they'll get really wrapped up in their sights and all this stuff at the range. And if you tell them just point at the center of the target and just shoot, don't even look at your sights. Just point the gun where you think it's going to go, where you think it's center on the target, and then just pull the trigger. A lot of times, if beginners are having a hard time and they're all wrapped up in their head, they'll shoot better that way than they would if they use their sights. Because it's actually not that hard. We all generally, if you just say, punch your hands out in front of you, most of us can just do that. It's not that hard, right? This is just instilling muscle memory so that when you're under pressure, I just said don't pull the trigger and then I pulled the trigger, but you're just instilling muscle memory so when you're under pressure, you don't have to think about these skills at all. But you'd be surprised how many people can actually do this and they don't even realize it. They've just never practiced it before. And it's not hard to get a lot better. I just had a bad rep right there, so do it again. I went high and then I went low. That was good. Okay. Be intentional with every rep. I had like a string of really good reps, and then I had one bad one, and kind of interrupted my train of thought right there. But just saying that a lot of people can get really good at point shooting, and they don't even realize it. So let's do this a couple more times. And then we will be done. All right, 2 more times. Last one. All right, if you want to practice this skill a little bit more, feel free to go ahead. Otherwise, until next time, stay safe, live free, and I'll talk to you soon.